Organissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today. Organissima, New York. Your beauty is our duty.
Folks, welcome back to the Sales World channel, iHealth Channel, the NBC Network, the whole shebang, as always, with your host, Hurricane H. Today is, an exciting day because whenever I talk sales and I get someone who speaks my language, primarily, I mean, I have different languages, typically different topics, all my I guess love and passion, but really sales is just what my DNA is made of. And so today I have someone that's going to drive us there. Now Darleen, Priday, did I get it right? Priday. So that you see, I wasn't sure. I was like, I didn't ask. So Darleen Priday, she's a CEO of DP Consults, and she helps coaches. She coaches, to sell their products and services, and that's just the quick definition. But we'll get deep dive into this. Ultimately, she is a sales guru too, and she's been doing sales in years. And again. This is the Sales World channel primarily today, and now sales affects everything in life. And whether you're entry level, whether you're a professional, whether you have a business. As a matter of fact, if you have a business, you cannot be possibly in a business without being in sales. I don't know of a business that doesn't operate with a sales, unit or business development, whatever you call it. But it is. So first things first, Darleen, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me, Hurricane.
Yeah, my pleasure. Like I said, today we're going to talk shop and we're going to have some fun. I did have recently a couple of great shows actually about the sales, and so this is going to be the next one, right? And so let's talk about you first, Darleen. I mean, ultimately, you're in sales, and not everybody likes to be in sales, and that's just a fact. We are like the other guys. Everybody looks at us like those are the sales guys, right? And so. How did you make it in that journey? Because that is a tough, place to be, and making it a career is even harder.
Yeah, absolutely. I was always that person that said, I hate salespeople, right? Like I'm a salesperson that hates sales because of the way that the typical stereotypical way that a lot of people approach it or look at salespeople. So, I mean, from very early on, I was in retail sales, and then I was in B2B. I've done everything, B2B, B2C, all of that type of stuff. So it always naturally, no matter what position I ever had, I always wound up selling. So I was in the fashion industry for many years, and I worked for a hair accessory company, and I did product development and all of that. But I always sold. Even though we had a sales team, I was always brought in for the bigger clients and different things like that because of the way that I sold and how I built those relationships.
Oh, so again, it's funny that you said that. Like you were in sales, you hated sales. Well, at least not hated, but it just, it's because of how salespeople have always been perceived. Yet you said it, even though I didn't sell, I was selling. And that's really what the reality of things. We all do what we call a sales transaction in life. And I've always said this, and many experts will tell you, we start selling at early ages when we're kids and babies. And we always sell in a way, whatever you have an interaction with someone, you're exchanging some sort of value, right? And that's a sales transaction. We just don't call it that way because whatever it is. And I had a guest one time. He says, "Do you ever date?" Yes. Okay. Well, you've been selling a lot.
Yeah.
So that's an example, right? I mean, there's so many, I would say analogies if you want to call it that way. But sales is a little tough because you always have to, kind of pitch, and people don't like to be pitched at, right? And sometimes it's like it's that kind of thing, but really we're not selling in typical terms. We're just highlighting some value and proposition, and we're showing the people what that is and what it means to them and what it can how it can help them. And usually you have to identify, what their needs are and wants, and then you can develop into something whether your product or service is going to match that stuff. And that's really just the generic version of if we think sales. And again, anyone out there, doesn't matter what you do, you will find yourself pitching something. If you go on a job interview, you are pitching yourself. So
Absolutely.
if you're watching or listening right now, you probably did that. If you're, again, we talked about dating. I think everybody, if you're not dating, even if you're marrying, you still have to pitch something. Honey, we gotta go this. No, we're not gonna go.
I pitch DIY projects to my husband all the time, all the time.
But that's exactly right. So you're always pitching, right? And so that's the thing, pitching. We hear that. It's just you talking about something, and you want that idea to be accepted by the other party, and so on and so forth. Now, in business, there is a transaction. There is actually, compensation for those, pitches and whatever it is. It reacts in. It creates an opportunity. It also results in revenue for some, and opportunity for others, or like, product, services, whatever you need. And so that's it. So that's the general stuff. Again, we're almost redefining sales for you folks out there, but again, the idea is that we can never do justice to the sales, and call it sensitivity, because we are actually the ones that usually feel that pressure as much. Because you work for any company, right? And there's a sales division, as you said. There's always salespeople, and they're always being looked at different. They're always the ones that get the brunt of the headaches, and if you want to call it that way. I mean, with the front line. I mean, no one gets the rejection and the curse and all the stuff and the sweats and stuff. Yeah, I mean, everybody's got pressure, and that the performance, whatever metrics that they have to demonstrate in their job roles. But at the end of the day, sales kind of like gets a little bit of a different spin. And we do have, in my industry, at least in the insurance world, we do have a life expectancy of salespeople. Because if you don't perform a certain time of a period of time, there's a chance that you're gonna have to be removed from that role because you're not delivering. Now that can happen for all jobs, but the frequency or the length of a lifespan for someone who's in sales is probably lesser than the average person. However, if you do it and you love what you do, it doesn't matter. And the other thing,
Yeah.
once you're in sales, you're always in sales. So now this is just that was me just chatting, because that's like I told you, this is like my shop. I love this stuff.
Yeah.
I always like to drive this message, because I want people to be proud of what they do, and all people. You're doing some service out there. You are selling something, so just be proud of it. Nothing wrong with it. Just do it right, and don't give a bad name to the professionals in this world, right? So
Yes.
so Darlene, now you've been selling, you've been the stuff. Now you also been leading,
Mhm.
and you started your own business. You're the CEO of DP Consults, and
Yes.
you really help coaches. I mean, there's a lot of coaches out there, and
Yes.
sales coaching and sales training is and by the way, let's define that: sales coaching versus sales training, right? Just so for our audiences, how do you bring that as a differentiator?
In my mind, I think sales training is when you have a method and people following certain steps, and it could be replicated for teams and different things like that. What I do is more coaching, because I do a unique approach. I go one-on-one with a person where their natural bend is, and create a process that is unique to them. Yes, there's certain standards within each of my clients. There's ways to have a discovery call, build a funnel, different things like that. But the design is to encourage and equip them to be able to sell. So I think it's that encouragement, that tweaking, to be able to help them move forward as sharing their value.
Well, so we're talking about coaches who actually are promoting programs to train others, right? And to
Yes.
coach others. And so they're already selling, a service. And but there's obviously a need, because not everybody knows how to do that. Everybody wants to do this. I mean, it's a good place to be. I'm going to coach people. I'm going to do this stuff. But whether can you do it effectively? Do you know how to do it? Those are all questions. I mean, we think we all know how to do it, but really do we, right? And so your role is to kind of adjust those things for them. Correct? Am I getting that right?
Yes, exactly. So I kept seeing, people, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. I mentioned that I also am a director of business development for Peachtree VA, where I sell and I talk to entrepreneurs all day long. I was seeing the same trend over and over again, where there were coaches that built a business based upon just referrals, or they had sales calls, and then they want a virtual assistant to sell for them. Can they sell? And I'm like, you don't want a virtual assistant selling for you. You need to sell. So I kept seeing it over and over again, where even mindset coaches would get in their head, feel like they were not good at sales, where they were failing because they heard a no or whatever it may be, and they weren't able to grow. Because once they started getting more leads that were not just a friend of a friend, that, leads are great, but it also gets more rejection, right? The bigger your net, the bigger, or they were bringing in the wrong people. So I was helping people do this within my network, and time again, people were like, you have to start your own business. You have to be a coach. And I'm like, there's a million coaches. And I don't know about you, Hurricane, but when you do something that is just innate to you, that you've been doing for years and years and years, sometimes it's hard to see that other people, like, this is eye-opening for other people. And they're like, oh my gosh, like, I never heard of this. I didn't even realize I should be doing X, Y, and Z. So that's really why I started it, is to empower those coaches to take what they have and be able to continue to scale their business and not look at a no as a no.
Well, so, Darlene, you've uttered the word no a few times, and rejection, and those are like standards, in our business. I mean, in our line of work, I mean, no is almost a must. It's a yes. You're gonna have no's because that's just the tradition. I think we're all default to no. Humans by default, they're no. I mean, talk to your kids. Do you want to do no?
Yeah.
Talk to you. No, I don't feel like it. And it's just, we almost feel that no is like the first, facade that we always give. Even if you want something, you're gonna say no first, and
Yes.
and then you're gonna figure your way. And so by accepting that no is part of the deal, I think you can reject that obstacle right there, and then you can start working from there. That's one. I remember when I first started a long time ago, I had this little, as a sales manager, I had this little picture in front of my in my cube, and it literally said, salesmanship begins when the customer says no. And it was just there. It was that, and I had another one. There was a noose, a picture of a noose, and it says, "You're responsible for sales." So those two were like my little guides, as far as where I was, and it was just a few things that can, like, memory joggers for me, that to keep me in check, as a responsible, and also knowing that my job is the difficult, to actually accept rejections and work with them. And that's the other thing. The minute you work with rejections and understand that it's going to happen, then the rest is history. It's a number game, right? You gotta get a few. Now, how you convert some of those rejections, some of those no's into yeses, there's an art to it, and there's a science. Both. I mean, that's the other thing. Sales is both a mix of an art and a science. The art is your formula, your style, your personality, right?
Yes.
The science is the methodology, as you said. You have a certain way of doing it. You train yourself. We train other people to actually execute on that, and then there you go, and you can deliver. And so, but it's difficult. But the problem is that not everybody has. I mean, everybody has their own style. Sometimes people don't know what that style is, and sometimes they don't know how to switch their way based on the customers. Not everybody is equal, right? I mean, talking to you will be a different story. If I talk to somebody else, it will be a different. So I need to engage with you, understand your needs, your personality, your flow, and that's where I can actually adapt and adjust as well. Now, some people, they're linear; they just have one way. You have to be like a 4D. You have to be like from like all different angles to be able to work. And again, in life, we sell in, we sell out. That's the other thing. There's different options. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I use the analogy of a piano player, right? If somebody could plunk out the keys exactly the way it is, they're following that method, they may technically know how to play the piano. And then, when you have somebody who's passionate about it and they play, and even if they're playing a wrong note or two, it's more enjoyable, right? So that's the same thing with those sales calls, is when you really have somebody who is engaged actively listening, like you said, know your audience, and being able to enjoy that conversation versus just hitting those points, it makes it much better for the person that you're talking to as well.
I hear you say that, and also like it's funny. I was looking at something on my screen here, and you talked about leads and how most people they're happy when they have the referrals, and so that's like order taker. I mean, you get an easy sale. I mean, all you got to do is give them what it is. They're already pre-sold because they actually coming to you halfway ready. It's like when someone's like, "Hey, can you tell me more about this?" I think or they walk into you like they, for example, as simple as this: you go to a car dealer, right? You're not in the car dealer to buy food. You go in there to buy a car. So there's a good chance that you're looking for a vehicle. It's just how we interact. Although, car salesmanship can probably be one of the worst examples in the sales, and because they pitch too hard, and it loses a lot of the value of real salesmanship. But again, no critics here for our car dealers, but there's more work to be done there. If I had to coach there's definitely a lot of work to be done. I've done it actually in person one time with this dude that was my car dealer. Anyways, but really when you start doing real sales where it's cold turkey sales, I mean, these people are not coming from a friend of a friend or referral. They don't know it. Then you're actually talking to them, and you have to pitch, and you have to why, why you versus others, why the product that you have, why your service. I mean, there's hundreds of products that are in the marketplace, and you happen to be one of them. Why different? What makes the difference, right? You're selling, a whole different perspective, your style, your angle. And that's the difference. So that's really where it gets hard, is when you have someone that is not prepped for you, So how do you work with folks like that? What is your angle with that?
So what I tell my clients too is know who your best customer is, who is going to get the most out of your service. I speak to so many coaches and they're like, well, I could serve anybody. And I'm like, you don't want to, right? Like, could you technically? Yes. But are you the best option for everyone? No. And we're having major storms. I hope I keep my internet. I don't know if you could hear the thunder. Sorry about that. But
welcome to Florida.
Yeah, exactly. And then it'll be sunny in 10 minutes. So so I have them really identify who is the best client for them, and also not look at a sales call, but as a discovery call. You are actively listening to that person and seeing what they need, and then you're conveying how you can help them, right? I don't like scare tactics. I don't like, saying like, if you don't use my service, you're never going to be able to sell. Like, it's just not true, right? There's a lot of options out there. I know what I do well. I know how I can help people, and I know how I can, move the needle and all of those different things. So I actively listen to the person, and then I paint that picture of what it would look like if they used my service. So that's how I have my clients share with them. Paint a picture of, if you used my service, if I coached you, if I, rebuilt your website, what would that look like? As opposed to using fear, you're opening up their mind to the possibilities.
So thank you for just a few things there that are powerful. One is you said it, you can't sell everybody, although you can, but really, is it worth it? Is it going to work? Are you going to drive the results? So the truth of the matter is that, there is a product for everyone. There's someone for every product, and you don't have to have everybody. And that's just the fact. You talked about the concept of the idea of painting a picture for them, right? Understanding what they're really gonna do. And that's the eye opener, right? To your point, when you're not doing scare tactics, and by the way, scare tactics will probably not gonna give you good results.
Wow.
People can read through that ASAP. I mean, they're super desperate, but then even if they are, they'll probably drop you on the way because they're gonna figure out no, I feel pressured here, and that's it. Scare tactic, includes the idea of pressure. People don't like to be pressured. It shouldn't be pressure. It should be like, oh, I want this. I really see the value and I need it. And I want you to help me get there. And so those are lovely values. And that's actually true salesmanship. That's professional salesmanship. You don't want to, now again, I use the word salesmanship as an expression. so just in case someone says, well, why? But that's really how we refer to it. And it's really just the way to do it. And I love what you said about that. You're comfortable with that. You don't want to be everybody's coach, but you want to have the people believe in your system, what you're going to give them, and make the difference with them. And that's actually, I think, what makes a difference in anything we do. People have, like in our business, for example, I'm in the insurance space, and one of the regulations, you can't do pressure tactics and scare tactics, right?
Yeah.
So by default, we're not supposed to. That doesn't mean that people sometimes don't cross that line and they're like, hey, listen, you never know. Maybe if you don't do it now, it's too late and whatever.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, see, I have a rule that if I don't sell you today, actually, I just did sell you. So what does that mean?
Yes.
I don't sell you today. I actually prep you for later. So I don't have to have a sale every day you have to have numbers every day if you want to call it that way. But you don't lose a sale. You lose a sale when you stop, when you actually push them away. But you don't lose a sale or a transaction if you make those people feel good about you. Because maybe today the circumstances are not going to work. In a month from now, the circumstances are going to be better. Now they're going to come back to you. So like, you know what? I really thought about this stuff. It's gorgeous. This is something I want. I want you to help me out. But if you pissed them off and you scared them and you did all that, it's over. It's done. Not only them, everybody else that comes along with them. Their referrals are gone. So those cold leads with the easy ones are not going to happen. So that's a mistake that's often made by salespeople and sales professionals, and it is a bad one.
I always say the end, like a win for a sales call, is going to be that they trust you. You exchange that trust. You're going to have some yeses, you're going to have some no's, but those no's might be not now. Those no's might be never, but you know what? I have a friend that could really use this service or product or whatever it may be, but they trust you. You built that trust because you're not trying to sell everyone, and you're not trying to use these cheesy tactics to get them to say yes, because people see that, right? So if they trust you, I have so many people that I've had calls with that will never use me, and they send the best referrals over because they know I will shoot straight. If I'm not the right service, I can't serve you well, I'm not going to sell you. I don't care what my numbers look like. I'm just not going to do it.
Well, see, that's again, this is the highest level of maturity in sales, understanding that a lost opportunity today is a gain sometimes in the future. And knowing, but some people, they want that quick fix, that quick sale. It's like, I just want to get it now and I don't care about the future. What happens is they don't see the potential. It's like you take, the baby fruit and it's the tree is destroyed or whatever, and there's no more. But you can leave it there, and to your point, the best referrals will come on because they started to trust you, they believe in you, and they know you're honorable, they know you're honest, you're not just bullshitting people. And so that's what people are looking for. I mean, today, if you ask anyone, I want a mechanic, it's like, I don't know, do you know a good one? I want a lawyer, do you know a good one? I want an accountant, do you know a good one? Anybody, like we always ask people, like, do you know someone that's really good, that's not gonna, take me for a run, take advantage of me.
Yeah, I just got a text yesterday from a woman I spoke to over a 4-year period, right? Needing a virtual assistant here and there. She would text me, we'd kind of reconnect, see what it was. Because I also don't want somebody to move forward if financially and all of those different things are not going to be good for them, right? I've given her other resources for like, okay, you can't afford us, but here's a good patch until you can. She texted me yesterday and she was like, hi, my friend, sends me pictures of her grandchildren. And she was like, now I need a virtual assistant and we're talking on Tuesday. So, if she never bought from me, it's still a relationship, right? I'm still valuable to her because she knows she can come to me and I can refer her to what she needs. She sent people to me. So it's really nice. And here it is 4 years later. Did I do these things because I knew 4 years down the road she may need a virtual assistant? Of course not. That's just how I operate, with a generous mindset that I'm going to give value regardless of where they fall.
And so now that takes me to your name, or the consults. It's consulting.
Yeah.
In sales, we are advisors and consultants. We're not salespeople. And so, yes, we use the word salesmanship. Those are the technical words. But really what we do is that consultative, approach. It's that, advisory, personality. It's like, let's identify your needs. Let's see what's today, what's going to work, what's not. And then you can start tweaking and pushing if you need to. Ultimately, if you are working towards a commission or whatever, some people, and you have managers, and there's always jokes about how you get pushed to, in front of the fire. There's some of that in this world of sales, but the best salespeople, doesn't matter, the ones that do successful, transactions and amounts of sales, are the ones who are doing that advisory, approach. They're consulting with people. They're sharing with them, values. They're not scaring them. They're not pressuring them. They're just showing them why, this service is going to help them and what options they have. And sometimes I have done this, actually. Sometimes I've sent people to my competition. Yeah. I just cannot help you, but exactly. I know someone that can. And you know what? Please do so. And actually, I've worked with a competition where we exchanged, business, and so it's not difficult. If it's a business, right? It's numbers, but it's the right numbers. It's and by the way, the word numbers even is negative. It's not numbers. These are people with needs. These are people with emotions. These are folks that have, a real situation in their life that you are trying to solve for. And so if you start thinking about how many people do we help today so we can help ourselves, if that's the simple formula as a salesperson, if you have that mindset, well, I want to help more people. By helping more people, I'm helping myself. And you start changing the dynamics of sales. You start becoming someone of value, as opposed to someone people would not want to cross paths with you again. So I love what you said.
And I love the term collaboration versus competition, because I have a lot, even in the coaching space. I just discovered, I created this business just out of my head, right? What I saw a need for. I didn't do all that competitive research because of the fact that I wanted to stay true to what I wanted to do. But in my networking, I've crossed paths with so many people that are kind of in the same space. And I'm so excited that they're changing the landscape of sales. And there is a different way, and there is a better way. And it's not what the typical, 20 years ago, you had to do it certain, just numbers, churn, and all of that. And I will say that, I use a lot of empathy with my sales, and someone told me that sounds so weak. I'm like, I have always operated that way, just innately, right? But I've also been a top producer, no matter where I was. And even I would go against, they'd say, oh, you have to do this, this, and this. Sometimes sales managers are so disconnected from what the client is needing and all of that. So I'm a little bit of a rebel. I just did what I wanted, and I was always really successful, based upon operating authentically to who I was.
But you know what? Actually, you're talking real stuff. Empathy is needed in this business. You need to understand people, finances. I mean, some sales guy or gal can come in right now and says, well, you guys are talking sales, and we got to push the numbers. We got to get the revenue. Well, we're going to get the revenue. Trust me, we've done it. I mean, we're not talking sales today because we didn't, we failed at it. I've been selling for 30 years, and I've managed sales, led divisions of sales. And I can tell you, it's all about the above. It's all about, caring, empathy, all these things, and being true to yourself, honorable, things like that. And if you know how to leverage things, your numbers are always going to be there, because it's a mass production type of thing as opposed to individual. The reason people get scared and they want those quick results is because they're not doing well enough. Yeah. So they need to catch up, the numbers. So they are forced almost to just do shortcuts and bad deals. And then eventually they don't last long, and they don't make it, in the long run. And that's the other thing. This is more of a marathon business, not, yes, it's day to day. Every morning you wake up in sales, it's a new day. You got to push. But understanding your value, understanding what you're doing, and you want to sleep nice at night too. That's the other part. I mean,
Yes.
you don't want to feel like, I just got these people, they lost their shirt because I got them a policy. And here's the other thing. Sometimes even if you did a quick sale, there's chargebacks in a lot of business and sales. There's people that cancel on you or disenroll if it's a membership or whatever. You want a long-term relationship with your customers, and that's who, residuals. Even if let's say in the insurance world there's residual income. If you do bad by people, well, they're not going to be with you, so you're not going to get that residual over the years. So what's the point? You got a quick, little, XYZ dollars, but
Yeah.
you have a short, narrow mind as opposed to, like, looking for a longer term. And so those are some of the things. Now, Darleen, confidence is a big word,
Yeah.
in the world sales. What do you say to that? And before we do that, I do want you, if you don't mind, to just for our audiences, virtual assistants. Why is that? Because you refer to it and probably like, what the hell?
Yeah. So, virtual assistants is, think of it this way. Like there's been virtual assistants around a long time, but I think in 2020, it just catapulted. Everybody realized they can work remotely. And I've been working remotely for over 10 years. So I don't, I do everything over Zoom and different things like that. But in today's economy, it is a beautiful thing that there's so many fractional options out there. So if you are a solopreneur, if you're a small business, you don't need somebody 40 hours a week. You don't even have enough, not only money, but you don't even have enough to do for that, right? Because we see everybody is an entrepreneur now and they're building these businesses and there's so many startups. So if somebody needs high quality support, but maybe 5-10 hours a week, that's what we supply. So we have all US based, they're highly vetted. We have a matching process where we make sure we're matching skills, personality, all of those different things, because when you build a business, it's your baby. So you don't want just anybody handling it. You want someone in alignment with you. So they are able to fill in a multitude of gaps, because when people start businesses, they start businesses because they're passionate about what they're doing, but they don't like a lot of the other stuff, or they may not like. For me, I suck at all the details. I am a high level, visionary, that type of thing. Can I do the details? Yes, but it sucks the life out of me. But having a virtual assistant, I call her my other half of my brain. She works so well and knows me so well that she picks up on those other areas and she takes care of the details to leave me in my zone of genius to be able to connect.
Love it. So now let's talk about the confidence thing.
Yeah.
So how important is confidence in our business, in the sales world?
Confidence is so important because people read your energy. People know when you're desperate. People know when you're just trying to make a sale. People know when you're, operating out of fear. But I think confidence starts with what you're selling. I have to believe in what I'm selling. Otherwise, I cannot sell it. Could I? Yes, but I won't, right? Back to putting your head on the pillow at night and living with yourself. So I think if you truly know that you can help people with whatever product, whatever service that you have, the confidence is in the outcome of helping them, not in your sales ability. You're there to share, and you're going to have that confidence, and that passion is going to come across because you believe in whatever you're selling versus you believe in your abilities to sell. Does that make sense?
Oh no, you just, that's probably one of the most powerful definitions of this part. because you're right. Yeah, I mean, if you're a salesperson, you are a salesperson. You can sell ice to Eskimos, whatever expressions that we've heard out there,
Yeah.
you can do it, right? And it's part of you. That's your personality. And sometimes they say salespeople are liars, bullshit artists,
Yeah.
Like I had a friend, we had a birthday party, and his wife's like, what do you do for a living? You do the BS stuff. That was the joke. So people think that we're BS people, but we're not. But what makes the difference, as you said, is not so much that you are confident in your skills and abilities, because that you have to have that.
Yeah.
It's the confidence that the people that you're serving are going to be pleased and ultimately happy with whatever you're giving them. And the fact that sometimes you align yourself with products or services that you don't even believe in. If you tell me like if I'm selling something that I won't use myself, then how can I even pitch it? I mean, they're just like,
Exactly.
and if I did, people, to your point, they will read through it because it's not going to sound authentic. It's not going to be like the passion piece is going to be gone because you're going to be talking as just robotic. This is what it's going to do stuff. But when you love something, your passion is going to come out right through your eyes. I mean, people are going to see it from your energy, from your vocals, from your tone. Everything's going to drive. Like, look at us. We're talking about something we're passionate about. I can feel. I mean, I'm jumpy right now. you know,
Yeah.
because I love this stuff, right? But,
Yes.
but if you are talking about something that you're not sure, this happened to me. Like there was one time I was given a last minute presentation to give in a product that I was not very familiar with. I sucked at that presentation. I was literally standing in front of a crowd. They're looking at me. I'm not confident in my talk because I'm not sure if I can articulate it well because that was my element. They just took me out of my element. They want me to actually pitch this. It wasn't me. Now you give me something that I'm in the element. I mean, think about it. Like you take a fish out of the water,
Yeah.
they're not going to be feeling good, and vice versa, right? Humans in the water for a long time, we're going to drown. And so you got to be in that element of yours. And once you're in, that's it. The sky is the limit. I mean, there's no limit actually.
And also, another point that you just reminded me of is like know your product or service inside and out. We are in a time when there is so much information. Our customers are coming educated, right? They know everything. They know the competitors. They know, what the pricing is. They know, so they're coming to the table. So you have to know and be really educated on what your value is. And I don't talk about competition. I don't like when people are like, well, what about X, Y, and Z? I don't like to talk about competition because I'm like, there's something for everybody. I can tell you what I do best and why to use me. And they may be just as like, you know what I mean? Like that's fine. But putting down the competition or being negative in any way just makes you look bad. Just talk about what you can do. If they, we'll use the virtual assistants because that's more apples to apples. They'll be like, well, I can get a virtual assistant for $10 an hour or $6 an hour in the Philippines. And I'm like, listen, if you find them, let me know because I will have them run my life for $6 an hour. If you could find somebody that good, do it, but so I think it's just a matter of really knowing your product, service, and conveying your value versus putting down the competition.
Also, let's talk about that because that is intense. The fact of when anything you do, guys, in life, if you're engaged in something, you need to be a master at it. You need to really master it at whatever it is. You talked about piano. I mean, if you really want to be in it, I mean, you really have to be at it. And the good pianist takes years. I mean, I had a great show with a composer, 40 plus years of composing and piano work. I mean, 4 hours a day type, of every day in her life, put in, some stuff. That's where the expertise, the mastery comes in. And same thing here in sales. It's something that you have to do, over and over. If you're in the medical field, you need to understand that. If you're in the pharma, you need to understand that. If you're in insurance, you need to understand your options and everything. And you're right. Talking about your competition is irrelevant to people. As a matter of fact, it's a flag. It's a bad. And I was going to ask you about the no-nos, and we might go right after this into a segue there. But really, that's one of the no-nos. Because here's the thing: people can. If you're talking about the competition, first of all, have you worked in the competition? And even if you did, the competition does change eventually. Maybe they had a bad leadership. Maybe the product sucked for that year. They changed. They have a better product. You don't know that. Like in our business, we can't say we have the best at the better because we don't work with the other guys. Even if we know that maybe some of their products may be not aligned with us and we have some products are better, we would ask like, so what is your current, situation? Well, I have this. Well, unfortunately, we can, they're not giving you the most, we have, a higher number, for example, something, but they have to tell you.
Differences without
Exactly. Without that's right.
competition.
That's right. If you start bashing on the other guys, and by the way, it's reversible too, because you get another person on the other side that's bashing, and it's not constructive, and people can really see it. See, like for example, we do brokerage, and so in the brokerage, so I have two models. We have the captive, let's say, agents that work for a health plan, and that's our industry, and those they only sell one product. or whatever the products that that company has. So they're very steering into one particular piece of let's say product line, right?
Yeah.
However, as a broker, you have all the products in the marketplace. So I don't have to pressure sell one versus the other. Tell me what your needs are and how you want your portfolio to be. And I'm going to show you the three best, opportunities that we have in the market today that can benefit you. And now that's a quick, and so therefore I wouldn't even have to get a search. But sometimes you do work for one company and you don't have the option of selling the others. You still have to push those products, but that you can do it by highlighting what are the necessities and the best things that you have in that product. And regardless of what the company, I mean, listen, we talked about cars, right? There's cars, a dime a dozen, companies, right? There are a lot of them. Everybody's selling cars. And on the road, you're going to see all models, which means that, this car is not let's say you want a Bentley. Well, there's a different crowd for the Bentley. They don't need that. They don't do commercials, right? That's one thing.
Exactly.
So you want a Toyota, they do commercials. That's okay. That's a different brand. Everybody is different, and they all have their own sales targets. They all have their own goals. They all have their own teams, and everybody's got, like, some people would not drive anything but American, right?
Yeah.
Some people like foreigner cars, or high speed, like fast cars, whatever it is. So that's the thing. You identify, what the needs are. But if you start bashing, and you try because you just want to make your product, relevant at that point, it's, you can do that to an extreme. Maybe you get a one or two, that will buy into that, but it's not a consistent, style, and it's not going to help you for the long term. Eventually your number is going to suck, because again, we're talking sales, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Darleen, since we're talking about no, what are some of the no-nos that you do not cross, or you tell people be careful as you coach them? I mean, remember, you coach coaches, and some of the no-nos that they might go through that we may be able to help them not get there.
Yeah, well, I think trying to sell everybody, being everything to everybody, especially with coaching, it's so personal. If you bring in the wrong client, it's not only bad for them, it's bad for you too, and you're not going to get the results needed. So selling to the wrong people, using fear tactics, or I am the only way, it drives me crazy. Like, again, I have that rebellious spirit. Like, if somebody tells me this is the only way, I will find a different way, to do it. Like, I don't like, because everybody's unique. There's a lot of different ways. And then also just operating out of fear. Like, I have to meet those numbers, or I have to sell, or whatever. Your energy introduces yourself before you even speak, right? And people know when you're desperate. People know when you are just trying to get them on the hook. So really taking a minute before you get on a sales call and focusing on, okay, I'm going to actively listen. And we talk too much as salespeople, right? We do. I do it. I've been in sales 30 years. I still talk too much. But listening, right? Actively listening to what the other person's saying, and don't just listen to get your point across. Hear what that person is saying. So this way you can really help them versus just going point by point with your sales pitch.
Well, you use the word active listening, and that is a tool that not everybody uses correctly. Active listening is where you're literally listening and almost like, did you say this? Am I getting this right? And that's when you really, first of all, not only you show them that you actually are picking it up, but you also are, you don't want to just take it, and you want to confirm that concept, right? Because that's what's going to build in the next step. Now, because I could be hearing you and not listening at all to what you say. I'm hearing voices, but I'm not even focused on what you say. I'm just like in the zone. Or sometimes you said, we're salespeople. We tend to talk. But in the profession of sales, 70% of the business is really listening, because that's what's, and surveying, assessing, understanding the needs and the wants and what's going on before you can start pitching. That's actually driving how you're going to be able, and what you're going to talk about. I mean, let's say you're selling 5 different things, but their needs and their discussion is only geared to one thing. Well, for example, you're listening, and all along you're listening about price, because that's usually the biggest, objection. Sell, like how much this is going to cost me. Everybody, I don't care who you are out there, As soon as you talk to a salesperson, you're just looking at like, what is it going to cost me?
Yeah.
And you want to know that first before anything else, because you don't want to proceed with the stuff. Most of the salespeople will try to keep that to the end of the story, because they want to get you past that, and the numbers can be worked out later on. But so understanding that if someone is really, you have to be listening. For example, if you have a couple in front of you, which one is really the decision maker? Those are all the things that you have to have pay attention to. Otherwise, you're going to have a whole, bad outcomes, and you're going to find yourself not closing, and not, your ratios are not there because you're not taking the time. I always say this: you're in front of a customer. That's it. Don't forget about the other customers. Forget about the other stuff that's coming up. Who am I missing? Am I wasting time? You're not wasting time.
Be present. Yeah.
That's it. Fully present in the moment. This is it. I'll finish this deal, then I can move to the next. But if you start go ahead. Sorry, Darleen.
Oh, I'm sorry. What I would say too is don't be afraid to challenge the person that's talking to you. Sometimes they have preconceived notions. They are off base. Like, by you just agreeing is not going to benefit them either. So I would imagine with insurance, people misunderstand something, or they think they heard from Aunt Susie that they need this type of policy and they don't. Like, it's okay to say, like, can I just speak into that for a minute? I have a lot of people that come to me and they want a virtual assistant. They're like, I need another one of me. And I'm like, that is the last thing you need, so don't be afraid to give the client or customer pushback if they are off track, not in a mean way or anything, but just like educate them.
I love it, because here's the thing. You're right. When someone is coming to you, you think that they need you, right? But when you go to people, that's when you start trying to avoid that, because you're afraid that you're gonna push them away. It's the same concept. You are in front of them. Doesn't matter how you got to them. It's about, to your point, you're gonna ask the questions. Is that gonna make sense? Is this something that you really want? And that's the other thing. It's, again, if you are consultative, mode, and you are doing consulting and advisory stuff, you will actually not go there. If you don't, then you're definitely going to fall into that trap, and you're going to, like to your point, yes, and or just push, and that's it. It's not about that. It's about literally understanding. And you're right. Sometimes people will challenge you. And you said something powerful earlier, is that today's folks are educated.
Mm-hmm.
They know this stuff. And first of all, when they reach out to you, or even if you reach out to them and they allow you to have, a discussion, they're preparing yourself. They might look you up. They might look at your company. They might know what what to ask and stuff, and they'll be prepared for you. Sometimes they ask other friends, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And they get the feedback. Sometimes it really half-baked feedback, but that's what they have. So you got to work with those things, and you have to be prepared for it. And you know what? Here's the thing: if you are prepared that the sale may not happen, then everything else is for you to gain. So you get that out of the way, and that's usually what the fear is for everybody. Oh, I'm not going to make the deal. Let's get that out. I'm going to go in there like I'm going to help this person, and I'm definitely going to go in with my best abilities to try to get the best out of them, and hopefully deliver whatever their needs are, and whatever at this time. Now, sometimes they might not even need it now. They might need it a year later. It doesn't matter. You said it, 4 years later.
Yeah. And I think it's important too for the salespeople to be ongoing learners, because you and I have been in the business for many, many years, right? In 30 years, the core of how we sell, who we are, may not have changed, but the customer has changed, the resources have changed. So being on top of it, and I love even learning from people that are much younger than me, or they have fresh perspective. So just learning, you can learn something from your customers, you can learn something from colleagues, you can learn something from your competition, like always being hungry to learn, and knowing that no matter how long we live, no matter how long we sell, we're never going to know everything, right? And always, really just trying to hone your craft, as opposed to just thinking you're a big shot and you know it all. Because like sales is as good as your last sale, right? Like you could be a champion 1 month, you could be the worst the next month. Like it's a long game, as you said earlier.
It is. And I love what you said. I mean, actually, it goes back to that discussion about being a master of the craft, and understanding your stuff, knowing your stuff. And knowledge is not going to be, without new features, without updates. You got to update your knowledge, right? And you're right. If you just think that, what I knew 30 years ago still apply, today, then you're just old school. And, we have some old school stuff, foundations, and we keep those. Obviously, our expertise, comes from those years. But what makes us better at what we do is that we are adapting with the times. Whatever technology, whatever, we are up there. We are constantly. And by the way, there's always someone's going to learn more or has more knowledge. So
Yeah.
understand that rule too. Doesn't matter how smart you are. There's a smarter person out there. And so let me get to that next level. Always try to be, in the top of tier of those things. That's going to make you. And I love what you said. You can learn from anybody. I learn from kids, from my kids, from family members, from outside, from TV, from everywhere. I pick and then I absorb, I tweak, and then I make it my own. That's all. You adapt to the times, you adapt to the knowledge, you adapt to the skills. The industry changes, and whatever industry you're in, it's gonna change. You need there's so many things that are happening. So the core foundations are the same, but
Yeah.
it's the aesthetics and the more stuff and the adaptability to the times. It's necessary. It's a must. So it's all of the above that you stated and beyond. I mean, really, that's what it is. And you have to be in all the time, updating, upgrading. And by the way, you don't want to be obsolete.
Oh, for sure. You don't want to be obsolete, but you also have to have that anchor of who you are. Because if you just chase the new and shiny, the latest and the greatest technique, you will be lost. You will be like bouncing back and forth, and you will not be effective at all. So having a strong foundation, but just gleaning and taking what resonates with you from these different things is important too. And not just taking it all in like, oh, I have to change the way that I have to sell and be a whole different person. No, that is the beauty of sales, is that you bring in your own personality and what you contribute to the role. And even though those cores are the same, you're still making it your own.
Oh, and that's important. Your signature, right? You have your own flavor, and that's really what makes. I mean, you and I, we can go to the same, to the same place, and you're gonna have your spin, I'm gonna have my spin, and we're gonna have our own little unique perspective and unique approach, and that's okay. You want to be that. You don't want to be like just a clone of anybody else, because then that's not going to work. So now I want to go to the entrepreneurs and coaches, business coaches. Typically, like you said it. I mean, there more than ever. There's more people that want to be entrepreneurs, and the world is allowing that. There's more with technology and everything. People are doing this. But what are some of the mistakes that you see out there in people who are joining new ventures or becoming more of their own bosses, if you want to call it that way, or their own employers? And what are some of the advices you would give them?
Well, I think I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs hire a salesperson way too soon. They're not even solidified in their business, and then they're hiring somebody and they're thinking somebody knows more about their business than they do, which is, they may not know about the sales aspect of it, but nobody's going to know your business more than you, especially when you created it. So not just jumping to hire someone, or if you get to the point where you need a salesperson, having somebody that is not in alignment with your core values, your vision, and you have to really know how they're going to sell, because as a coach, you are your product. If you get a salesperson that's going to use these tactics, as we talked about, that are no-nos, right? You're going to look bad. That's your reputation. That's your brand. So if you get to the point where you need to hire a salesperson or sales team, you need to make sure that they are in alignment with who you are and are going to operate like that with every single customer, regardless of the month, regardless of the quota, regardless of anything.
So, Darleen, you touching on something very deep, because and it's funny because you said a lot of entrepreneurs, they usually hire a salesperson, yet they're the ones who created or innovated this new approach with this new service or product, and they're really the ones who know this the most. I mean, they can pitch it better than most, if not better than anybody else, because they know why they created whatever that opportunity is. So they're the better, pitchers at this. I think the problem is most of the people, they don't think they have what it takes as the pitch. I get CEOs all the time who actually are pitching their companies. you
Yeah.
know Now they don't send their salespeople or their sales. They do have sales divisions, but they come and talk about their value, their organization, and they're pitching the bigger picture, right? Because they know more about what that vision is and that mission, so they want the public to hear about it. Now they can certainly have a representative to sell the product service, but that's the product and service, not the big picture, and
Yeah.
that's the difference. So to your point, if you are really believing in your company and you start in the company, you're going to be the first one out there pitching, doing. Then what's going to happen eventually, it's going to expand, and then you're going to have people who actually are aligned correctly, as you said. And if they're not aligned, they're not going to be part of it. They shouldn't be part of the team because they're going to destroy all the work you've done. So that's important. Now, coaches, you said that they have sometimes difficulty finding their own business.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I think what happens is that they move out of a place of sharing what they do and their value, and it's a mindset. They shift to, I have to sell. I just worked with a client who she builds websites and she has an amazing product and all of those different things. And she was told by someone, like, you have to get a sales call is successful if you get them to give you that deposit right on that call. And I'm like, that's not true. Like, it's really not true, right? Like, that's not a successful sales call. Sure, you're gonna have that sometimes if it's an alignment. And when I was like, no, that's when I was doing the discovery call with her, I explained a little bit more of how I would equip her to sell. And when she heard that is not the right way to do it, it was like she took a deep breath and she was like, oh, well, that makes more sense. It got her off the hook because she was putting this ridiculous pressure on herself to get that sale. Or I had another client, she's a mindset coach. And she was like, I spoke to I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I got 3 no's last week. Like, I spoke to 3 different people. Nobody wanted to move forward. And I'm like, okay, but why? Were they not the right fit for you? Was it they didn't have the funds now? Did they have to have something else in place? All of those different things. People take no, and that's the end of it. I saw a statistic that was absolutely ridiculous. 70% of people do not follow up on sales, like 70%. So I thought, that's ridiculous. That's not a true number. The more I talk to entrepreneurs, the more I realize it's either yes or no. They're like, okay, they're either working with me or they're not. They're not putting them in a nurturing campaign. They're not checking in with them at a later time. It's so there's so much of a mindset that goes around selling your own services that I help them with, so that this way it could be authentic. It could be a conversation. It's not pressure. It's not pressure for the client, but it's not pressure for the person selling either.
Well, Darleen, I love what you're saying, because you're making it a very simple approach, that there is a way that is beyond what you know. And it's not necessarily that, yes, ideally you want to close a deal the same day. I mean, who doesn't want that? If you're in sales, that's a sweet, spot. That's like, yeah, easy money, right? But that's not always the case. If that was the case, everybody would be selling every day, because everybody would be like, you go in, you come out with actually money. That's not how it works. It takes time. I mean, I'm going to talk about real estate agents. You know how long do they have to work to actually get a deal? How many showings? If you're on the sellers, agent side, I mean, you got to list the products, you got to get the listings, you got to do this, and then eventually you have to share that commission with someone else. If you're on the buyer side, you know how many people you have to take to these homes and stuff, and eventually you got to split. It takes months, and then you have to wait for closing and banks and approval. I'm just an example, right? It's any type of sales. If you're working in the corporate platforms and you're doing like software and stuff, you got to meet with the executives and sometimes wait for the board to approve and budgets and this, and do committees with subgroups to actually present the opportunity. I've done a lot of different things in my life, and all these things I'm talking about, I actually been part of those things.
Yeah.
And each one of those circumstances in sales, are part of like the core of them. but there are processes. And if you just expect that first opportunity is going to happen, is going to always going to be there. Yeah, listen, there's a good percentage of that happens, but that's not the majority. And so
Right.
you have to be trained that it's going to happen. And also, to your point, if you don't follow up, today is a bad day.
Yeah.
Maybe the circumstances today, this month is a bad, there's different things that people are going through and they have priorities. Everybody's prioritizing. So maybe today's the priority for me is like number 3. Next month, I'm going to go after number 2. In 3 months, I'm in number 1. They want me desperately. Now they need it. And that's exactly what it is. Now, if you've completely, just pulled the plug and you didn't follow, you just lost that. See, that's the thing. We look at today's business. We don't look at future business. 2 things we do in sales. There's today and there's the future. You work in two lever like pipelines. Yeah, the one that is immediate, and there's the one that is progressive, that is ongoing, because that's what's going to keep you going. If you're working like in our world, you got to work with doctors. I use a SMART formula, right? So there is a formula. You work with the providers, you work with events, you work with community organizations, you want to work with this and the other, and each one of them you give some sort of a target per month. Now, if you can generate X amount of referrals per channel, eventually that just going to exponentially, kind of grow up into super numbers. 1 per channel, and then 2, then 4, then 8, 16, and it's just adding up. Before you know it, you don't have to work hard. You just sit back, relax, and everything's coming. But if you're just waiting for that quick deal, just satisfaction right now, it's over. It's done. Tomorrow you're going to work as hard, or harder, and it's the same thing. But if you work the smart way,
I don't know about you, but I love a challenge. Like, I love when you are nurturing somebody or you have to go to that, talk to 15 executives and do your thing. And like, I love winning them over too. Like at some point, like that is such a victory. Like the easy wins. Yes. Who doesn't want an easy win? Right. But the ones that, take that time or finally come around or whatever are just as sweet and they usually come at those times when you're like not even expecting it. Like that woman who texted me, right? Like I wasn't even expecting it, but that's, fantastic. And it may not be my biggest sale, but I'm excited because I'm also excited to help her too.
Darlene, it's amazing, but we're like farming. Right, we're big.
Yes.
You have a huge land with a lot of trees. Then you gotta put those seeds. You gotta keep nurturing them and stuff. Some of them are quick fruits. Some of them are long term. Not all products, all I guess, farm stuff delivers in a month or 2 or a week. Some things can take years before you can start seeing stuff. Some things are quicker. In a month or 2, you have all those fruits and whatever it is. That's the same an analogy, but really that's what we are. We are planting seeds.
Yep.
And then some of them are going to give us quicker results and some of them are going to take longer. But if you almost neglect those other ones, well, guess what? You just planted seeds and then they get destroyed because no one took the time to nurture them and build them. And that's not something you want to do. So again, it's talking about mindset. That's the mindset. You have to shift it. And again, entrepreneurs, business people, and sometimes there's money. There's they put their shirt in there. They put their homes into like some sort of a second mortgage, whatever. They borrow money. Time is ticking, and sometimes their priorities can become a little. And again, as time gets tighter, decision making becomes a little kind of off, and that could be a problem too. So adjusting correctly and finding that quick help can help. I mean, listen, I have been in business. I've had good ones and bad ones. I've made some good calls and bad calls. And you know what? I can get it. It's not always easy. Sometimes you do need that assistance to guide you. Because sometimes we see it our way. And then we become funnel vision or tunnel vision rather. And we don't have, we can't expand anymore. And you need that extra outside view that, hey, I see it. You don't see it. Because again, that's like once we're in something, I see it all the time. I do consulting sometimes. So you go into a company, or when you just move to a company, you see all the stuff that's wrong. Yeah, the people that were there, they never see it.
Yeah. So I start my coaching, my intensive with doing a high level business analysis because sales is not in a vacuum, right? And for exactly those reasons, it is so easy for me being outside of the dynamics. I don't have any skin in the game, right? Like I can go in and look very objectively and see where those gaps are, what they're doing really good. Maybe there's things they're doing great, but they're not even capitalizing on it. So doing that high level first really enables me to focus on the sales piece of it, but then maximize what I'm bringing to the table with the sales, because I'm addressing all those other areas. I don't want to do your marketing for you, but I can see where there's gaps, and I have a great referrals, system where I can give you to trusted resources to help you get there.
Darlene, I love it, and we just hit the top of the hour here, but I know we're limited in time. There's so much we can talk about, but I want to just, there's a lot of stuff I can ask, but the one thing now, it's about your work, your service, and how can people, which clients do you really seek, and how can they reach out to you? How you can help them? I know you do virtual, which means you can be all over the world. So,
Yeah.
so let's talk about that, and I guess highlight a little bit about your company specifically.
Yeah. So my beloved avatar, so to speak, is that entrepreneur, that solopreneur that is either a coach or a service provider that really has an established business, but they don't have the confidence in the sales piece of it, and they don't have the systems that are able to maintain those funnels of what we're talking about, and those nurturing campaigns. So as I mentioned, I do a high level business analysis, and I do this all in 4 weeks because entrepreneurs have the attention span of a gnat. And I say that in lovingly because that is me. So they want to see, they want to have something that they can hold on to and move forward with. So I do that. And then I go deep, I take a deep dive into their sales process. I give them, I create a discovery form, like what to ask on that sales call to make sure you're getting in the right clients. Now we know who's the beloved avatar, but who would be the right people? What are the right questions to ask to make sure? Talking points of their, how to convey their value using their bend. Not everybody sells the same. And I know, we mentioned that before. Like, I like to use humor. I make a joke out of everything, right? Like, even when I flub or whatever, I'm like, I have to have a sense of humor because it's just like life is too short. But people, they may not operate that way. So, I try to see what is going to feel natural to them. And we create talking points, not a sales script, because nobody wants to hear a sales script. And I do role playing with them. I really make them comfortable in getting their message across. And then I also give them how to follow up, cadences. So if they say this may not be a right client, maybe you want to refer them to somebody else. If they're not ready for you now, maybe they need a website first. This is what you're going to do. Or if it's budget, let's put them into this bucket. So to start creating those funnels where it's cadences of how to reach out, what's appropriate. And then also, building out a referral program, because some people have built their business on referrals, but they don't have an established program. Or, what are strategic partnerships? Who's in your area that you can refer business back and forth? So I give them all of that at the end of about 4 weeks. And then 2 weeks after that, I follow up with them to see how it feels in their skin. Have they been doing it? Like, what is not good? That type of thing. And then I also have rapid fire coaching for those people that want to stay, have somebody in their back pocket for the next couple of months. I do a 3-month rapid fire coaching where they can send me a sales call. We can hop on a call, see what, maybe they have a new offering that they're not sure how to portray. So I do that as well but it's really equipping them to be able to use their own personality, their own bend, and just continue to grow that business.
Oh, that's a lot. That's a pretty, comprehensive package right there, and certainly the time frame is decent because it's not a long, I guess, investment of time for them, because you're right. People need results, in fairly short, term, and so you're doing that. Now, your website is dp-consults.com.
Right? Correct. And you can also find me on LinkedIn, Darleen, Darleen, Priday, Priday. And I'm big on LinkedIn, so you can reach out to me there. I'd love to connect.
All right. And also I'll have the the website on the job on the description of the show, so people also can do that. If your picture would be on the site, they can click on it. It will be on your site as well, or LinkedIn, and so that will be an option. Definitely, folks, if you do need some assistance and guidance, I think Darleen can definitely drive that and help and make it happen. I hope that really we had a very comprehensive discussion about sales in general and the do's and don'ts and things that we can improve and just some of the realities of the business. But certainly some nuggets on the coaching and what works and what doesn't. So, Darleen, anything you want to leave our audiences with today before we end the show?
I would say, like, trust your instincts, right? Be authentic to yourself, trust your instincts, learn a lot, listen to a lot of different things, but go with your gut. Don't do something that is not in alignment with who you are. It's always going to come across to your audience.
That's powerful. I'll take it, and we'll close with it. So thank you so much, Darleen, for being with us today. It's been real. I had fun. I enjoyed the discussion. And folks, I hope that you've enjoyed this show and you've learned some stuff. And now, if you are an entrepreneur or you're contemplating such, or you are a coach and things are not happening, now we have Darleen that's available and she can help and assist. So we'll be talking soon. New day, new show, and topic coming up. I'm your host, Hurricane Age. Bye for now.